Welcome to the shop, everyone. Today I'm going to do kind of an overview on this 1971 Corvette I bought back in 2017. Now, when I went to look at the car, you can tell that it had been sitting for quite a while, and the little bricks and building that you see that may have been there one time, I often wonder if it may have fell in on the car because of some of the scratches and stuff that were on the paint in certain areas. Don't know that, I just always wondered it. So anyways, looking the car over from sitting so long, everything was pretty much in bad shape. It was a non-running car. So we negotiated the price for a little bit, and then we finally agreed on a price, and so I loaded it up and took it back to the shop to start doing some renovations on it. Now, one of the first things that you can see is, for some reason, the car looks like it got, stopped being used back in 1995. And I'm not sure the reason. The seller had told me that the engine had been rebuilt in it at some point, so I didn't know if that was the reason they stopped driving it and never really got it back on the road. But anyways, from sitting, the brakes were completely gone. Didn't know anything about the engine. It had sat for a very long time. Didn't know if it would start. The interior was in rough condition, but the overall shape of the body, it's just whoever designed that car, I just think the shapes on it are just a beautiful car. And so one of the first things was kind of look this engine over, because the idea was at first was just to get it running, get some brakes on it to where I could just move it around in the yard. So if I needed to get it out of the way, I didn't have to hook it up and pull it around, that it would move around on its own power. So the first thing was to see if I could get that engine running. And like I said, the guy had told me that it did have a fresh rebuild on it years and years ago. And so I kind of looked everything over. We made a video on first start on it, and it did. It ended up starting up and running well. There you see the old tack drive distributor back there. But the overview of everything, like I say, the first thing was going to see if I could get it running. Now the interior was in awful condition. That side panel was missing, the radio was missing, the knobs weren't on the windows, at least one of the windows. And it, like you say, it just been sitting. And on that little decal there, this was just a 270 horse 4-speed Corvette. I think it's probably the base model. And that's what I kind of like, is I like cars that don't have all the stuff. I don't like power windows. I like a 4-speed. I like the manual brakes. I like the manual steering. And so it had everything that I was looking for in this style car. So getting in on the driver's side there. Now the car looks like it's showing, the title and everything was, I think it was past mechanical limits or something, or I forget how it happened, but they had this car since, I think 1974 is what the gentleman told me. And I think it had like 174,000 miles on it. It's definitely not 74. And also, looking at the engine and running the numbers, it is the matching number engine that came in the car, so that was nice. So this is the first start. I had done some things. So it turned out that the engine ran fine, and actually get the engine running right, I just had to put a gas tank in the car, run some fuel line, I think I put a new fuel pump on it, and also a fuel pump line going from the fuel pump to the carburetor to kind of make that somewhat right. Then after that, it was going to be the brakes. You know, the brakes had no pedal. Everything had been sitting for a very long time, so I wanted to do a complete brake job on the car. And also the front end, the bushings, A-frame bushings were wore out, so I replaced those and also put new springs and GM shocks on it also while I was working on it. So another thing was the tires didn't hold air. So I took the rims off, had them blasted, and painted with a automotive paint with hardener. So we got those painted up and kind of put together, and they looked nice after everything was polished up. Then I went ahead, the calipers were the stainless steel liners in them, and so they're just rebuilt, blasted them, cleaned everything up, bought all new components for them. So got that done, turned all the rotors, got the rotors all cleaned up. So that part's shaping up. Then the tires for it, I like that old nostalgic look of those older Coker tires, and so I bought a set of those to put on it. And you know, for some reason it just looks right. You know, the Firestone, it just really looks right on that car. So alright, after all that, we got brakes, we got some of the suspension took care of. It starts up, pulls in and out on its own. So the next thing was the interior. And what I found in the interior was the tracks were rusted up because the car held water, you know, from where it leaked. And so I had to replace the tracks. I bought, I think, all new parts for the seats. I blasted all the frames, and where any of the frames were cracked, you know, we welded up. And also the springs, I call them springs, there's probably a better name for it. Any of those that were broke, I replaced with, I think it was Mid-America, where I got the seat covers, the new foam, and all the parts to repair the seats back to original condition. And it was not cheap. I got quite a bit of money in redoing those seats correctly. All new chrome on the side. There's everything laid out after it's been blasted and painted with, I think it was Pro 15 paint that I used. And that's with the new foam in the bottom. Gives it a really nice fresh look. I also had to replace the seat belts when I was in there and had those pulled out. And even some of those parts under the car that hold the seats in place, there's like some metal things in there that has some rust on them, so I went ahead and took those out. And then I used the correct Corvette rivets to put everything back in place. Took the emergency brake out, cleaned all that up, got that took care of. So now we have a car that has somewhat of a decent interior and decent seats in it, but it had a leak when you put water on it. So I took the dash out, replaced all the light bulbs, put a new light switch on it, all the vacuum hoses, and I sealed the front cowl cover. I'm not sure the right word for it, but cleaned all that up to seal the car good, to stop any water from getting in the car. So when we took care of that, worked on the wipers. The wiper mechanism on the car is, you know, I found it challenging. It was my first time kind of going through it. So I took everything apart, cleaned everything up, greased, oiled everything, rebuilt the actuator. So here's what the car put back together, and all the gauges and everything in there. It's really nice at night to turn it on and have all the lights on. I put a, I don't know, a radio in it that's supposed to look sort of period correct. There's the center console, looks really, really nice, really, really clean. Really happy with that. So here's the engine. I put the factory air cleaner back on it, the factory valve covers. Other than that, I haven't done much to the engine. The engine just, it's very smooth, doesn't click, great oil pressure. Very, very satisfied with the engine. And I do have a new Whittler radiator, aluminum radiator that I'm going to put in it. And then the Eckler's exhaust. Yeah, that Eckler's exhaust, it installed really nice. I'm really happy with that product, and it sounds, you know, I can't tell you how good it sounds behind that car. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a like, subscribe, ring the bell, share it, do all those things. It helps a lot for me to keep doing these videos. And I want to say thanks again for watching, y'all. Have a great day.